Hi, my name's Teresa Greenway, and I'm going to be your instructor for this course. We're going to learn to make modified gluten bread. Modified gluten bread is a very long fermented dough that is easier to digest than regular bread. We will be exploring how to make bread taste tangy, sour, or mild, depending upon your treatment of the dough. We will be working with a large batch of dough and baking the loaves off one at a time over the course of 4 days. This formula is based on the method by Johann Ferrand. He came up with a method that is popularly called the do-nothing bread. In this particular type of dough, the less you handle it, the better. So come on, let's get started. Good morning. Today we're going to be making some modified gluten bread. The modified gluten bread will be a bread that is inoculated at 4% with the sourdough starter. I'm going to make a larger batch of dough this time. It'll be enough to make 3 loaves at around 750 grams apiece. We'll be doing a long autolyse. It's going to be about 6 hours long. And then I'm going to take out 750 grams of dough and let it sit at room temperature for 24 hours, and then I'll bake it tomorrow. The rest of the dough I'm going to put into the refrigerator, and I'll bake the other loaves in 2 to 3 days. We'll try baking another loaf 2 days from now, and then maybe another loaf 3 days from now, just to see how they all come out. I've got all the ingredients measured already except the starter. We need 52 grams of 100% sourdough starter. The starter's nice and vigorous. 52 grams will end up being 4% of the flour weight, so it's not very much starter. There we go. It's 52 grams of 100% sourdough starter there. Next we'll add 875 grams of water. Stir this up. Make sure to get it well dispersed throughout the water. I already have the flour and the salt pre-measured. The salt we'll be adding later after the autolyse. I have 562 grams of all-purpose flour, 562 grams of bread flour, and 150 grams of whole wheat flour that I just ground about 5 minutes ago. We'll get this all incorporated, and then we will let it autolyse at 70 degrees Fahrenheit for 6 hours. After that, I'll be adding 25 grams of salt and 50 additional grams of water. This bread will end up being 73% hydration when we're all done. It's not at 73% hydration right now because we haven't added the additional 50 grams of water. I'll be dissolving the salt in the water and adding it to the dough later. Make sure to get all the flour underneath. That's starting to feel pretty good. This is not a super high hydration dough. I wanted to make something that would be easy to throw together, let it set out in autolyse for 6 hours, and I'm letting it autolyse for so long because it has a really small amount of starter in it, and I wanted to give it a jump start before I added the salt. And then we'll have some dough to play with. Tomorrow we'll bake one of the loaves after it sits at room temperature all night, and then we'll bake the other loaves in a day or two. I wanted to make up a batch of dough that you could just have handy in the refrigerator and grab when you needed it. So this is really an experiment on how we could keep some dough in the refrigerator and have it handy for baking whenever we need it. I want dough that's very long fermented so we can modify the gluten and have it very pre-digested for those that have problems with digesting gluten. I'll be putting this whole container into my proofer at 70 degrees Fahrenheit for 6 hours. I'm not going to fold it or anything. Before we put this dough in the proofer, I wanted to see what the temperature is. It's about 62 to 63 degrees in my kitchen. So this dough is 71.8 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'll be putting it in the proofer at 70 degrees. In 6 hours, we'll be back and we'll add the salt and a little bit of water that we need to add still.